In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial from my group on how to cut this stylish queen and neckline bustier pattern with asymmetric basque and gathers. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. This dress is also from Public Elegance. So now here is my pattern, and I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurement for this pattern. So I marked my shoulder to bust, under bust, waist, and to get my hip point I marked 7 inches. So now the full length of my dress is about 36 inches. After here, I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2 plus half, because this dress has a sleeve, and I'll come in by 3.5 inches. So next, I'll just go ahead to connect. From this point, I'll go down by 7 inches, which is my chest line, and to find that is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I'll mark back what I have here on my shoulder on the chest line, and I'll place my ruler and draw a straight line. After that, I'm going to divide what I have at this point into 2. So after this, just like I said, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now I'll place my curve drill, connect to the upper part and connect to the connect to the chest line of my pattern. Now I'll start by marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I'm going to mark this all the way to the hip point of my pattern, and I'll extend this all the way up. Now I'll place my ruler and draw out a straight line on this point. So after this, I'll go ahead to mark a dart intake of 1 inch on both sides on my underbust. Let's say if you're a plus size, you can go ahead to use 1.5 inches. I'll measure about 4 inches after my waistline, and from here I'll connect to the underbust, connect to the other side, then connect to the lower part of my pattern. After I'm done connecting this, I'm going to go ahead to use my marker, and I'm going to outline this to make it more visible for you to see. So the next step I'm going to take now is to go ahead to take this all the way to the lower part. After I'm done marking that, I will come up by 2 inches. That is where I want my pattern to start. Now you can use about 2.5. Let's say you have bust. So I'm using 2 inches because the neckline is a bit high. So I extended my nipple to nipple up. Now I'm going to connect from my bust down to my under bust. So after I'm done connecting this, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline. The next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to mark my dart intake of 1 inch on both sides. So if you're a plus size, go ahead to use 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead to connect this all the way to the upper part of my pattern, and I will repeat this at the other side also. So after I'm done connecting, I will now go ahead to start inserting my body measurements. Also remember to use your marker to outline your pattern. So next, I will insert my bust circumference. My bust is 33 divided by 4. I have 8.3. Now measure this dart I have here at the overbust area of my pattern, and I'll go ahead to place it here and add my sewing allowance. So use any sewing allowance of your choice. Now I'll mark my underbust circumference, which is 28 inches divided by 4. What I have is 7 inches, and I'll measure the dart intake, replace, add my sewing allowance. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4, pick the dart there, replace and add my sewing allowance. Mark my hip circumference divided by 4, and I'll add my sewing allowance. So after this, I'll go ahead to place my ruler, and I'm going to connect this all the way to the lower part of my pattern, and I'll also repeat this at the other end of my pattern. So after cutting my pattern, that is where we will now alter the pattern to get the design. So first you have to mark your bust dart. Now to get your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist at the front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17 inches. My shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5 inches. Now minus 15.5 from 17, you have 1.5, which is your bust dart. Now after I'm done marking this, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to come down by 1 inch from here. The neckline is not so deep, and I'll just connect at this point. Here I'll come in by 3 inches, but I later extended the back pattern to that of 3.5 inches. So now go ahead to extend your pattern at this point at 3.5. Then you now connect it to the lower part, leaving about ½ inch first. Now on this part of my pattern, I will replace the dart intake I have here. That is the dart intake I have here. I'll replace it by the side, because if you look at the pattern there's something slightly that way. So what I'll now do is I'll connect my armhole and I'll take or pick part of the dress. That is, the armhole will now slide in to that 2 inches that intake I replaced by the armhole, but I did not mark the full dart intake by the side. Take a closer look at the armhole of this pattern, you understand what I'm talking about. They replaced the dart and then slanted part of it towards the armhole. So now to tighten the yoke area, I'll come down by 0.3 inches and I'll place my ruler and take this down. This is to tighten the yoke of this pattern, because there's no cutting and joining on the neckline area or on the yoke part where you can cut and join. I don't have any cut and join there, it is cut together. So after this, I'm now going to go ahead to cut out my pattern. So when I'm also cutting this, you have to like blend out your dart and before we go ahead to cut out the asymmetric shape. So now remember, like I said, the full length of this dress for me, if I'm making it, will be 36. So you also have to have that in mind, because what you do is from your waist now to the full length, what I have is 36. So you have to minus your waist from your waist measurement from the full length. So also another thing you need to do is to transfer your pattern. Now I've gone ahead to transfer the measurement I have on one pattern to the other side. This is very important for us to draft this part. So now I'll slant this from the waist coming over to the other side, which will be from the waist. I'll slant to the other side. So from this other side of my waistline, you're going to pick where you want it to stop. So I used about 5.5 inches. Now to get the lower part of this dress, just like I said earlier, get the full length of your dress. Now from your shoulder to waist measurement, what do you have? My shoulder to waist is 17 inches minus that 36, which is my full length. From that 17 inches, you will have 18 inches. So for the lower part of your pattern, you're going to use 18 inches by 3 to 4 yards, depending on how full you want it to be. So that's 4 or 3 yards will be gathered round your waistline. So after you're done attaching it, what you will do is you're now going to place it on a flat surface and trim it out. This is to get the same measurements at the lower part. Like, let me re-explain. From your shoulder to waistline, minus it from the full length of your dress. So the remaining part which you have will be 18 inches. So if you attach that measurement, one side will be longer than the other. In order to have a straight measurement after you're done attaching the gathered area, you're going to go ahead to trace out the part that is longer at the lower part of the gathered area of the dress, and after that you're going to go ahead to use your scissors to trim out the areas that are longer, then go ahead to weave that part. So after this, we'll move over to the back pattern of the dress. So for this pattern at the back, here is my zipper allowance. I use 1.5 to 2 inches. Here is my shoulder to bust, waist. My waist at the back is 15.5 inches. I added 7 extra inches to get the hip, just like we did for the front. Here I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2 plus half, because this pattern has a sleeve. Now I'll come down by 1 inch and I'm going to go ahead to connect all the way up. So now remember, from this side we came in by 3 inches. So that is what I will do for this back. Now I'll go ahead to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I will draw a straight line. Now I'll go ahead to place back what I have on the shoulder here, which is my shoulder divided by 2 plus half, and I'll place and draw out a straight line. I'll go ahead and divide what I have here into 2 and mark half. Come in by ½ inch. Go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. So all my measurement is starting after the zipper line. Now I'll go ahead to place this, and I will connect all the way to this point. So after doing that, the next step I'll take is to mark my dart. I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I will mark this also at the waist and take it to the hip point. So after I'm done marking that, I'm going to place my ruler and I will connect those lines that I have marked. So next step I'll take is to go ahead to mark ½ inch on both sides of my waistline, which I'll extend this out. So for the back, you can go ahead to blend out your dart or sew it out. So after this, I will go ahead to insert my body measurement. Starting after the zipper, I will mark my bust circumference divided by 4, then add my sewing allowance. You can use 1.5 to 2.5 inches for your sewing allowance. Here I will mark my waist circumference, which is 28 divided by 4. So my dart here of 1 inch, I will replace it here, add my sewing allowance. So I'm not sewing this, I'm just drafting it out. So that's why I'm using 1 inch for my sewing allowance. Mark my hip circumference and add my sewing allowance. So now the next step I'll take is to go ahead to connect this, and I'll connect all the way to my hip area. So what I'll do is to draw out the neckline of this back.